Hi everyone, welcome to Beauty Broadcast Express. Today's review is on a new bronzer blush little combo palettes from Wet n Wild. They're called Color Icon Bronzer and Blush, and as you can see, they have kind of a tropical theme there. But how functional are they? Because they claim to be both a bronzer and a blush. So that's what we're gonna look at in this video, all three shades, as opposed to having, like, say, a split pan where you've got one shade on one side, one shade on the other. You're kind of getting a little bit of a mix here. Like if you were to take your brush over this here palm tree, you're gonna pick up not only the pink, but some of what's surrounding it, you know? And same here. The first one, the deepest one, is called Everything Under the Sun. And this has definitely the deepest bronzer and also kind of a bright coral looking blush. So in the swatches, you're first seeing the blush and then the bronzer and then a mix of the two, because I think you inevitably are going to end up with a mix of the two if you're aiming for any part of that blush. It's like, it's really hard not to pick up some of the bronzer with it. The next deepest one is Dusk Till Dawn, so you can see this one's real dark, this one getting a little lighter, and you can see a more peachy type of blush shade. The bronzer is lighter, and I almost sense kind of like a slightly rosy tone to that, just a little bit. The third one, kind of a stretch on the bronzer description here because it strikes me as more of a highlight and a blush. Your blush is a light pink, the highlight is kind of a champagne color, and you combine the two and you get just kind of a watered down, more light pink shade. Every one of these, every part of them seems to be kind of a satin finish to me, with the exception of the highlight part of this one. You can see that there's like a little bit of shimmer in that. As far as the pigmentation of what's happening in these, I feel like it kind of varies one to the next. For example, on this darkest one, I feel like the bronzer is pretty pigmented, and the blush, it's like kind of hard to pick up much color. It's very, you know, like not characteristic of the typical Wet n Wild Color Icon blushes that you might buy individually. And kind of a similar story with Dusk Till Dawn. You know, it's a softer bronzer, but then, you know, the blush might be a little bit harder to pick up a lot of color with. And with Hold Me Close, when I first got this and just glanced at it, didn't really give it a close look to pick up on the shimmer, but I thought, oh, that kind of reminds me of the Reserve Your Cabana, which I love. This is a really great highlight, almost goes to the point of like a semi-matte type finish, so really nice if you want, you know, that, want to create that contrast on your skin that a highlight gives you without all the shimmer. This is awesome. But this one, like I said, does have the shimmer. No part of this is really the pigmentation that I expect from Wet n Wild. I did manage to work each of these, or at least parts of these, into my look today. So for Everything Under the Sun, I did just use the bronzer part. I use that as a bit of a contour, just kind of under my cheekbones, around my hairline, typical places. Then I used Dusk Till Dawn as my blush. This is the one that I think lends itself most to being mixed, like running your brush over everything and actually ending up with a really pretty shade. I do really like the blush shade that this created for me. And then with this one, not really impressed with the pigmentation. I mean, I used that lighter part as my highlight, and I feel like most of my glow was already kind of coming from this shade, and this just kind of, I don't know, wasn't doing much for me at all. So bottom line, for the purposes of using these, any of these, as separate half bronzer, half blushes, I really don't appreciate the cute little detail. Like, it's cute for a minute, and then you stop and think, oh, how do I really confine my brush to just certain areas? But all things considered, this one I would totally skip because, I mean, I just don't see any color intensity out of it. This deepest one I would skip because I've got plenty of drugstore bronzers that I like. I don't really need that. And then the blush is kind of hard to get to, and frankly not that intense anyway. The one that I do like and that I see myself continuing to use is actually the one called Dusk Till Dawn, not for using this part and this part separately, but for the mix. It gives you kind of a more neutral blush tone with that hint of peach, and I like that a lot. But as a whole, this whole concept of these, I think was kind of a miss from Wet n Wild. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.